Hello again, folks. For those I didn't see talk to earlier, good evening. Welcome to this Danielcode tutorial. I'm sure you can all hear and see me now. That looks all right. And I thank you. I thank you for your attendance. Okay, those who couldn't hear before now can. I thank you for your attendance, and we'll get right into it. My name is John Needham. I'll be your host for this evening, and I'm actually doing this webinar from New Zealand, which is a collection of islands off the coast of Australia, for those of you who haven't been in the Down Under before. It's midsummer down here, and it's my morning, your evening, and I'm warm and you're cold. So I hope that what I'm going to show you today will warm you up. Today is the official launch of the GENIE. Those of our members who are here, and we have many of them, know that this has been a long and difficult birth. It's taken over 10 months to get this to the stage that I'm happy to release it. We had our first release, or our official launch, but at the Las Vegas World Traders Expo in November, where I was speaking, and a good lot of our members came down there. We certainly had a bit of fun. That was the stage at which it was supposed to be ready to be released to the public, but we have had the endless technology bugs that seem to just go on and on and on. However, I'm satisfied now that it's fit for release. It's been tested in real time for the last month. Pete Kilman, who a lot of you know, the Vice President of Trade Navigator, has been doing the real-time testing on Forex, and I have been doing the real-time testing on futures, and it's working exactly as designed. Let's now move on and show you the presentation. We'll try to get through this as quickly as possible because I do want to leave a good bit of time for discussion, questions and answers later. Dex, Richard, your question, the answer is yes. That's being done for us by Heath at Trade Navigator, and it's quite a cumbersome job because we've got to load in all the previous signals naturally, but the answer is yes. For those of you who don't know about the Danielcode, it's primarily a 1 to 10 day trading system in futures and Forex. We trade the US equity indices, gold and silver, oil and T-bonds, grains, and 15 Forex pairs. A lot of people have the mistaken view that markets are unique, that is, that they behave differently, and that you should only trade 1 or 2 markets. That's not correct, certainly as far as the Danielcode is concerned. With the Danielcode, all markets trade exactly the same. And by trading across a wide spectrum of markets, you do get a degree of diversity. So Forex, of course, is very much diversified from the futures, other than the DX, the US dollar index. The grains are pretty much diversified. They do have a US dollar bias in them because they're quoted and traded in the US dollar. Gold and silver, gold normally has an inverse bias to the DX, the US dollar, that is gold up, dollar down. That pattern runs for about 94, 95% of the time, but occasionally that can switch and you can get a linear correlation, that is both markets moving in the same direction, which we see occasionally now. I've written an article about that. Those of you who are interested in that sort of thing, at the website www.thedanielcode.com. Click on the articles tab and you'll see 60 or 70 articles there that I've had published in Financial Sense, Forex Journal, Oracle, various other publications, and pretty well most of the questions you're interested in, you'll find that I've written about them at one time or another. So the optimum returns from trading, which is always what we're looking at, actually come from these shorter time frame signals, these 1 to 10 day signals. Average trade is probably close enough to 2 days. The long-term continuation signals are very, very nice, but our bread and butter is just trading the turns, which is what we do. And you will find that by utilizing your account, by turning over your account much more frequently with these shorter term systems, it will outperform the longer term trading methods like swing trading and what have you, where you don't get a great rollover on your account. So this is where it starts. A lot of you will know this stuff, so we won't dwell unnecessarily on this stuff. This is the Danielcode trade program. It lives inside the Danielcode website, which is www.thedanielcode.com. And every day signals are loaded into this program about 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours after US markets close. And those signals, once they're loaded, are complete unto themselves. You don't need to look at the open of the market. Genie knows all this stuff, and we'll just go ahead and place the right signals for you, place the stops and everything else, as we will see. There's a closer look at this Danielcode trade program. This is actually the signals for today, which is Tuesday, and you'll see that there's a fair splattering of Forex signals there, most of which were not elected. Election is has a special meaning to the Danielcode. It means that the market must do certain things to pull us into the trade, but you'll be interested to see towards the bottom of this page. I'll get my highlighter here, and you'll see towards the bottom of this trade over here we had two trades of interest today, one of which was a sell in the Dow and the other was a sell in the S&P. So if you were surprised by the market going down today, those markets, or you didn't happen to get the trades, this is how you get them. They're created every day. And some of these trades will last for more than 1 day. Some of these trades can be valid for 3 days. But we're talking about the Genie today. This is our auto trade program, and the Genie knows that. It knows when to carry forward the signals and when not to. A new feature that if you haven't been with us before, or you're not haven't been with us recently, you won't have seen is over in this column over here. So before we get there, you can see the signals are very specific. They tell you whether it's a buy or a sell. Let's just have a look at the S&P, because that's probably what most of you guys are familiar with. It tells you it's a sell. It tells you exactly where to sell it, 13.1250. It tells you exactly where to put your stop loss. It tells you where the first target is, and then further over it tells you whether these trades are correlated or not. And that's very important, because a lot of these markets are correlated. For example, the Dow and the S&P are very highly correlated. So if you have signals in both of those markets like we did for today, then those trades are very, very likely to be much the same. In other words, they will take the same direction. So if you have a sell in the Dow and a sell in the E-mini, which we did have for today, both of those trades will either be winners or either be losers. That's the what correlations mean. And the Genie knows about correlations, and it goes through and it sorts the correlations. And if it says yes, it's recognized the correlation, then it's going to cut down the size of the contracts that it recommends to you. And that size is determined, first of all, by your account value, which you just type in up here. And then the risk that you wish to take. We recommend a maximum of 2%. Now, that may not sound a lot, but you'll see as we go on that we have a lot of signals at the Danielcode. This is quite different to most of the signals you've seen or systems you've seen. This program creates an average of perhaps 7 or 8 signals a day, of which about 3 or 4 are elected. So there's a lot of trading going on, and if you get a whole lot of those signals elected at once, that risk can multiply. So it's a little more aggressive than it looks. The new feature here is this column stop loss and exit protocols, and you'll see that we're putting in there some code, and it stands R, stands literally for reversal. That will be a reversal trade. C will be a continuation trade, and a 3, that's a 3-3 trade, and that's a cross between it's a bit of a hybrid trade. And each of these trades have different stop loss protocols and different exit protocols. The 3-3 is very easy. Your stop goes above or below the swing, the appropriate swing for the day. You don't move your stop during trading, and you simply exit at the first profitable close. The R's, the reversals, are a little more complex, and we'll come to those. And the C's, the continuations, have their own protocols, because we try to use very aggressive stops on the reversal trades, because in a trending market, the most common counter trend is 1 day, and we want to be very aggressive with our reversal trades. But with our continuation trades, we're far easier with the stops protocol. We want to give that market time to move away. So all of that's contained in this Danielcode trade program. Let's move on now. I think, let me see if I can see what you folks are looking at. Here we are. Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay between New Zealand and where you are, so these screens are taking a moment or two to swap over. If you hear me talking ahead of what's happening, that's why. The first thing I want to share with you are the results from the trade program, because that's what the GENIE is. It's an electronic version of the Danielcode trade program, and we have tested this trade program to exhaustion. We've had it independently tested. We've had other people trading it, and these are the results that Dave kept for us, and you'll see that for the 12 months last year, we had 857 winning signals in the year, and that's 86% win. We do have some losers. In fact, 14% of these trades are losers. So you can see that you know, there's close to 1,000 signals, and I think there's about 220 odd trading days in a year. So roughly you're getting 4 or 5 trades a day elected, which means that you will be in the trade. In conjunction with that, we ran a live trade room for 7 months, where all of the Danielcode members were able to see this happening in real time, with the trade room placing the trade straight out of the trade program, as we've just seen, and following the protocols that I have created for these various strategies. And in that trade room, they started with a $100,000 account on June the 27th last year, and at the end of the year, that account was at 151,700 odd. And that gave us 51.75% profit for the 6-month period of operations, which is an average of 7.29 per month, not per year, per month, after 6 months. The Sharpe ratio at the end of that operation was 4.55. For those of you with a technical bent, what the Sharpe ratio is telling you, that's a statistical calculation of risk reward. And strangely enough, it's telling you that trading the Danielcode is considerably safer than investing in big cap stocks, which is quite an extraordinary assumption. So I don't know that we can make much of a hullabaloo about that. To get a really reliable Sharpe ratio, you do need considerable periods of data. But if you're interested in the GENIE, the first thing you want to know is, what will it do? Well, it will do exactly what the trade room did. It gets exactly the same signals, and it uses exactly the same protocols that Dave was using in the trade room. So our anticipation is that it will mirror the trade room results, with a couple of exceptions, which I will deal with for you as we move on. So once we get to the stage we've got our orders, we've then sort of got this creation of traders' nightmares. We've got to make all these decisions that you can see on the screen right now, and that involves knowing what is the market, which is the front month, which is the right contract to trade in if you're a futures trader. Are we buying or selling? Where does our stop on entry go? How do we move that stop loss as the trade develops? What's the target? What do we want to see, or what do we expect this market to do, and how to react when it does it, and more importantly, how to react when it doesn't do it. You then need to know whether these trades are correlated. If they are, you need to adjust the number of contracts you take so that we maintain our risk on the totality of trades within our risk profile. Now, I know that's very boring. I used to absolutely go to sleep when people started talking about risk management and risk parameters, but I can absolutely assure you that if you can't manage your risk, you're going to lose money trading. That's the number one rule. The greatest thing about the GENIE is because this is all automated, it does all these things for you. You don't have to be concerned with them. I actually started one of my children trading the GENIE during the trial period precisely because I wanted someone who'd never seen a chart, knew nothing about markets, and would just be mechanical. And it was fantastic. If you know nothing about trading, if you've never traded before, you can trade the GENIE, and if you have been trading, then there's even more reason to trade the GENIE, because if you're like most traders, you've got things in your head that force you to do things or stop you from doing things. You've got a whole range of emotions, and once you get a bit underwater, the panic sets in and you fail to take the stop and reverse. All sorts of things happen. In fact, we've got a very good example with one of our members who's been a pretty diligent student, and while he was in the trade room with Dave, he was doing very, very well. He was actually doing a bit better than the trade room, so I imagine from that he was slightly more aggressive. And then when the trade room closed at the end of January, he just fell apart completely and managed to lose 11% of his account in the month of February, when the trade program made its average 7.6, 7.7. So having the GENIE takes away all of those issues, and they'll beat you, and they do. So what we've done with the GENIE is we have programmed into it everything that is in the trade program. So it gets every day, it goes and it sucks up the signals from the trade program as soon as they're posted, and it reads those codes that I showed you, R, C, and 3, and it knows from that where it's going to put its stop on entry, which of those trades is going to take a first target and carry the rest, which of them just hold till the end of the day, and it knows about stop and reverse signals. In fact, it knows everything that the trade room knew, and it will emulate that. So the GENIE, it's not a black box. This is just a little drawing that one of our PR guys did for the video launch. But in fact, excuse me, it's not a black box, and we tell you at the website very clearly what are the specs of all these signals, how they work and why they work, so you can be fully aware of that. One of the things we found out when we started developing this program is that the average home computer and most office computers do not have the capacity to provide uninterrupted service. That is, you will get an ISP outage, or you might have a poor signal. Even if you've got a good signal, there are all sorts of things that interrupt the computer. There are downloads, compulsory downloads, errors that force you to reboot, and so on. So what because this is a program, it's a piece of software essentially. One of the things we need is absolute stability in the power supply and the internet feed, and to that extent, early on we asked our partners, Trade Navigator, that's Genesis Financial Technologies in Colorado, Springs, Colorado. If you're not aware of them, they're very prominent people in this business. We asked them to create some virtual dedicated servers for us, which Dex is fond of telling me constantly should more properly be called virtual personal servers. I am an attorney, a rather aged attorney, and most of this technology is lost on me. But Dex, you'll notice I am making an effort to use the correct terminology, if nothing else. So Trade Navigator now have a range of virtual personal servers, and you can subscribe to those. I think they're about 45 or 50 bucks a month, not a lot. And once that happens, you can run the GENIE and all of your other trade programs in a server away from your computer. So You will find if you're going to run this on your own computer, it will slow down the rest of the work that you're trying to do on your computer, and you will be constantly worried about, did the signal fail? Did the internet drop out? Because, bear in mind that if you've got orders placed that have gone through to your trading platform and your power drops out or your signal drops out, the rest of the equation, that is the stop loss and the move your stops and all of those algorithms that are written into the GENIE, are not going to be able to be executed because it's not going to be connected to anything. So I do strongly recommend to you that you use a virtual personal server unless you are very, very confident of the power supply and internet connections for your own computer. The next screen takes you to a screenshot of Trade Navigator. Now, for your manual trading, the trading you're doing yourselves, you don't need Trade Navigator. We do recommend that you have it, but we do have a lot of people who use other trading programs. For the GENIE, it's a bit of a hybrid, and part of it resides in the Danielcode service and part of it resides in the Trade Navigator service. So to run the GENIE, you do need Trade Navigator. This is where it lives as far as you folks can see. We see most of the important stuff is on the Danielcode website in the trade program, but from what you will be seeing, you do need access to Trade Navigator, and if you would like to have a trial of Trade Navigator and the GENIE or any of the other Danielcode products, we're going to make that available to you. They're very, very good people to work with. We spend a lot of time dealing with them. In this page here, which is just the normal chart page, you will see that there's an array of buttons across the top here. Now, they all look pretty formidable, but they're not. If you decide to have a trial of this, Renee Adcock from Trade Navigator will give you a one-on-one training session. Usually there are two of them, 1 hour each, and she will make you entirely familiar with how to use the Trade Navigator charts and the Danielcode program. So we have a pretty extensive backup for you to teach you how to use this stuff. Well, looking along the top here, it's probably hard for you people to see, but I've just highlighted the relevant button, which has got a big DC on it, and that's the Danielcode GENIE button. And you do no more than, once the signals are posted, and you don't even have to look at that because the GENIE goes to the Danielcode website every 5 minutes to check if the signals have been posted, or indeed if there has been a change in any of the signals. Shadow, I know you're here. That error you pointed out the other day, which was an error in MySQL, which is the programs that run the website. We made that change when you alerted it to us, and GENIE picked it up in less than 3 minutes. So if there are any changes to the Danielcode trade program during the day, GENIE goes every 5 minutes to search and look for any change in those files. So once you've got this, you simply press the DC button there, and that will summon up the GENIE. And here's a picture of a great, strong, and mighty dynamic GENIE who is there, ready and willing to do our wishes, which is just exactly what GENIEs are for. The next page I've showed you is what the GENIE program looks like when you open it up in Trade Navigator. So you're in Trade Navigator now, you're enabled for the GENIE, you press that DC button, and this is what comes up. And you'll see that it's very specific. We've got the markets, and then as it moves along, it tells us whether they are buy or sell signals. It gives us the exact entry, the exact stop, correlations, etc., all the stuff that GENIE needs to know. So that's actually what it looks like when it opens up in your browser and it opens up in Trade Navigator. We can now take a closer look. You'll see down here the best trades of today, of course, were the Dow trade and the S&P trade. This is not yesterday's. I showed you yesterday's signals a little bit earlier on. This is January 07, just as an example to show you. and you will see that the codes for what these trades are, the reversal, the continuation, and the 3-3s, they've gone. We don't need to restate them here because Genie knows all that. This screen here is only for the purpose of enabling you people to do two things. In here, you type in your account value, whether that's a practice account or a real money account, and you put in the risk that you wish to take, and then Genie will then come out, and having worked out all its correlations, it will tell you the number of contracts that it recommends that you take. And you can then just type in here in this column, contracts taken, the number that you want to take. Now, some of you will only want to trade Forex, some of you will want to trade only futures, and we have different versions of Genie available for that, and others of you will want all of them. But you just type in the number of contracts you want to take. Some of these markets here, of course, you can't access. Nifty is the big equities index in India, the Mumbai exchange. We have a very good client there, Darashaw Brothers. They're the oldest and most respected firm of brokers in Mumbai, and we do the Nifty and the US dollar Indian rupee pair for them, but you can't trade it. HUI is for example, is the unhedged gold index. It's an index of 25 gold producers that do not hedge their output. And that's important because the HUI is gives us derived trade. That you can only trade options on that market. It doesn't have any futures attached to it. But if we get a signal in HUI, it is so highly correlated with gold and silver that we can take that signal in either gold or silver should we wish to. So there are some little points like that are quite interesting, which you'll pick up as we go along. And this is what the Genie is actually doing. It's taking these trade signals, it's doing the market correlations from the Danielcode trade program, it's placing the entry orders with the trade platform. It places the initial stop loss order with the trade platform. It will take you, I was going to say 2 minutes, I'll be conservative and say 5, to select the contracts that you want to take for the day, and then press the submit orders button. Once you do that, the Genie is in control, and it will go ahead and place those orders with your trading platform, and it will then manage your stops, and it will also manage your exits. It is almost a set and forget solution. Now, having said that, the word almost, I should qualify. I'm a Luddite, who is a person who doesn't believe in technology, which is probably a function of my age. Computers weren't invented, or certainly weren't available to the public when I was a young man, and so I don't have great faith in them. So I always suggest that you occasionally, and by occasionally I mean once or twice a day, you just have a look at your Genie program and make sure that everything that's supposed to be happening in there is happening, that you have the connections and that your trades have been placed and so on. But the theory of it is that it is a set and forget solution. I don't think there's any such thing myself, but you certainly don't need very much input at all to it. Once you've created your orders and submitted them, it will do its thing. It will do exactly what it is programmed to do without fear or favor, and it takes all of the emotion out of trading. And the main thing is, you've seen that we can have a lot of signals in a day. We can sometimes have up to 17 or 18 signals, but we're going to average probably 6 or 7. Now, for every one of those signals, you've got to create orders. You've got to create an entry. You've got to create an initial stop loss. You've got to work out that in dollar terms and what it means to your risk. You've then got to adjust the number of your contracts to keep within your risk. You then have to know the first target. You have to know whether it's a reversal continuation, because not all trades are equal and they should be handled differently. But all of that stuff is being done for you, and in this little graphic here, I've just set out to show you roughly what happens. These programs start with the Danielcode. That's Dan, our hedgehog, our mascot. He creates, inside Danielcode, are created the orders for the day, and it then goes into the black box, which is really the Danielcode website, and it does all the correlations and checks for carry forward trades and gets rid of trades that have lapsed on time. All of these trades have a time element. They must be elected within a certain period of time. From there, it goes from the Danielcode servers into the Trade Navigator servers, where the actual trade sense, it's called, speaks a language that the trading platform can understand. And from there, GENIE then places those orders into the servers of the trade platform for execution. Now, at the moment, we are using and recommending PFG as the trading platform. The reason for that is that in Forex there is no central exchange, so all the different trading platforms create their own prices for Forex, and they are dramatically different. The PFG platform has the closest reference to the Trade Navigator numbers for the daily high-low, which are vital. And we have, after 6-7 months of testing, mainly done by our friend Jerry Winter at Striker Securities in Chicago, we have found that it is the most stable platform. That is, they will hold the spread in Forex pretty much the same for 24 hours. And that's vital because the spread can defeat any trading protocols. The basic rule for me seems to be the people who advertise the most are the worst. And none worse, let me tell you, than FXCM. If you're trading Forex with them, you probably can't win. We've had clients who've had their spreads on secondary markets go from 8 ticks to 80 ticks in half an hour. It's quite scandalous. Anyway, that's the platform that we are presently working with, but Trade Navigator connects to a host of platforms. So if you're with a different trading platform, the GENIE will be able to handle that if Trade Navigator has the existing protocols, and they do for most. So that's how it works. It starts the Danielcode, goes to our servers, goes to Trade Navigator servers. Orders get placed. This spinning around in the ether is just a pretty picture I found. And then, of course, all of this is reported back to you. You're the little devil trader there. And it has a very comprehensive reporting system inside GENIE. It will tell you what are the orders, which ones have been filled. It will give you real-time plus or minus as you go through the day. So that's pretty darn good. I put in some testimonials here for you to read. They won't be on the screen for long, so please have a look at them. I'm not a great believer in testimonials because I don't think it really matters what those guys think. It matters what you think. But I do appreciate getting these, and these two, one is from Shadow and the other Tom 21 and 3. They're both long-term, but Tom's certainly been with the Danielcode for long-term. And Shadow, those of you who are members will see that he's just had the most marvelous trading results. He won't mind me saying that he made $10,000 in 3 days last week. We only had signals for 3 days because of the break for the holiday on the Monday, and I think he only trades futures as well. So he made $10,000 in 3 days last week. He's a very good intuitive trader, and he'll be even better when he does the next tutorial. These are just a couple more tutorials for you to see. Some folks like to know that there are other people who are doing this, and we have a lot of members in forum who can tell you all about your questions and answers. So, you know, we've got a large number of very happy people. One of the things that we did earlier last year is we asked Striker Securities, who are brokers in Chicago, they're the official Danielcode brokers. Jerry and his staff there have all done the Danielcode tutorials. They're very, very familiar with Danielcode trading. And they're nice guys, and they'll be only too happy to help you in any way. Talk to you about the GENIE, talk to you about trading, talk to you about anything else you want. So for any new members, they're going to be your main contact point coming in. But we asked Jerry to just take the Forex trade signals. This is just about half of the program, and we wanted to see what sort of returns he would get trading it completely independently using the Danielcode rules. And we were interested in Forex only because Futures, you need a pretty substantial account to trade. The exchanges are putting up futures margins all the time, and you need a decent size account to cover the margins. The beauty of Forex and why it is the fastest growing market in the world is because they've introduced mini contracts, and you can trade very small accounts on Forex. You can actually, we have clients trading Forex quite successfully with a $3,000 account. 5,000 is better. But you know, you can't trade futures with those small accounts. So we do have a lot of people who trade only Forex, and that's why we've created separate versions of the GENIE. There's a Forex only version and a futures only version that you can use. You can see that they were using here a 1% drawdown, and they annualized out at a tick under 30% a year. And we actually recommend for more experienced traders 2%. That's what the live trade room ran on. And if you double that, you can get an idea of the potential profitability of Forex. Now, let me say that that depends on volatility. The Forex range bars at the moment have contracted drastically since December. Which means that even though our winning strike rate is exactly the same at 86%, the profits are not as good as they used to be. But that's volatility, and that comes in waves, and we go through cycles where these things have bigger bars and smaller bars. At the moment, we're in a smaller bar environment, probably just coming out of it, so we can expect that sort of profitability to return. But you do have to take a reasonable long-term view of this stuff. This is a 4-month test. As you can see, I'm now showing you the equity curve from Striker's document. The full document's available at the Danielcode website under the recent trading tab. You'll see a PDF where they give their full report on this. So trading just Forex is a very, very attractive option to those people who have smaller accounts. So for those of you who are new here today, we do invite you to take a free trial of the Danielcode and its GENIE. The GENIE requires a not intellectual work, but it requires a degree of understanding, or it did for me, because I'm not very good with computers and the associated things. So when you first see the screens for the GENIE and you see all of the reporting that it does with trade sense, with open orders, with filled positions, it can be quite daunting. And I certainly recommend, that's why we make these trials, free trials available, so you can get hold of the GENIE. The free trials, incidentally, only run on simulated or practice accounts. We don't want you risking real money until you're quite comfortable that you know what you're doing with these this program. So we invite you to have a free trial, and you will find that once you've looked at the pages long enough that they become familiar to your eye, it will only take you a matter of minutes each day. So we have had a lot of people, excuse me, who go to work, who have family, who have other commitments. They just don't want to spend their time in front of computer screens or creating these laborious orders, which, you know, on a day we've got a lot of signals. It can take up to 5 hours to create all the right orders, and then you've got to monitor them, and on and on and on. Now, the GENIE gets rid of all of that. Once you place the orders, you don't have to monitor them. You don't have to look at your charts. The GENIE will just run it for you. You can do this in 5 minutes before you go out to work in the morning, or go off to play golf, or whatever it is you want to do with your life. So if you would just take the opportunity, please, to write down these contacts. You can register for your free trial at the Danielcode register bar, but I would prefer for new people if you would contact Jerry, Jerry, at thedanielcode.com. Email Jerry, and I, in fact, have a phone number coming up when you can call him. That's for new members who are not existing Danielcode members. Jerry and Dan are the guys who will be helping you. They will organize your free trial of the website. They will organize for you to get a trial of Trade Navigator. You will get the Danielcode library, which contains some studies I've created, some special stochastics that are different to your normal stochastics, and some other indicators you'll find useful, and they will then arrange for the GENIE trial to be turned on for you. So I do urge you to contact Jerry at thedanielcode.com. Existing members, you of course know you deal with Terry, and you can contact Terry at support at thedanielcode.com, or call him on that phone number 260-918-0155. That's of course a US number. And for all GENIE support, the technical support and advice is provided by our partner Trade Navigator. You can contact them at support@tradenavigator.com, and once you get your Trade Navigator trial going, there's a help page there with a whole lot of contact details. Just briefly, because time is running on and I want to have time to talk to you people with questions, there are some pros and cons to this. The pros are the obvious ones. It will do in 60 seconds what could take you 5 hours. With GENIE, it manages your trades in real time. It knows all of the Danielcode trade protocols, and more importantly, it doesn't have emotions. It knows where the stops go. It knows where the trades are entered and exited, and it doesn't have any emotions. We do find the biggest single problem with private traders is that they find it very, very hard to stick to the program. They tend to not want to take the stop and reverse, which is mandatory in the Danielcode when a trade fails. They tend to shove their stops up too tight, and basically they are unable to reproduce what the trade room produced for us and what the trade program has been doing for years. So they're the good points. The points against it is a machine. It will do exactly what I have told it to do and nothing else. So it doesn't have any imagination or any vision. It won't optimize the trades. Now, the trade program, when we give you these protocols, which are in the GENIE for reversals, continuations, and the 3-3s trade, they're not the best in the world that I can do. We can make those trades a lot better, and experienced traders and those who've attended Danielcode tutorials know that they should be able to almost double the returns that we talk about at the website by using their trading skills. A lot of these trades can be enhanced. The exits don't need to be taken where they are. There are ways of making more money if you are a very good trader. But the GENIE won't do that for you. It will do exactly what it's programmed to do. And so we haven't tried to optimize the trades. We have given it the safest signals that we can, and the safest stops and the safest exits, which is exactly what the trade program has been doing, returning better than 7% a month for the last 15 months. So can it be done better? As you become a good trader and as you learn more things, maybe you'll do a Danielcode tutorial somewhere along the line. Yes, you will be able to optimize your trades, and you will do better than the GENIE will do on its own. Having said that, we think the standard programming and the standard results we're getting out of the GENIE and the trade program are the best in the world that I know of. I may be wrong. I'm sure there are others that we don't know of, but of the ones we do know, we think we're right up there with the best in the world. So that's what GENIE offers you. The other things that won't optimize, this actually should be under the pros, is when we get a failed trade, and we do have them, we have very specific steps you have to take. Most of them revolve around outside bars and taking reversals, and very, very few people can do that because they've had a loss on the first part of their trade. They find it very hard to pull the trigger on the reversal part of the trade, which is a loss minimization strategy that is crucial to Danielcode. GENIE doesn't have any problems with that because it doesn't think about it. It's a machine. The other issue before that page changes is it does not know about derived markets. So I told you earlier that if you get a signal, excuse me, if you get a signal, for example, in Huey, the index, you can take that trade in either gold or silver if it is elected. GENIE doesn't know that yet. We may be able to introduce that as time goes on. And it doesn't know about other derived trades. For example, gold and silver for long periods of time will trend in the opposite direction to the US dollar index. So a sell signal in the US dollar index, if elected, would be, in normal circumstances, a buy signal in gold or silver. Now, GENIE doesn't know how to do that yet. It will, no doubt, in due course as we refine this stuff, but, you know, as Pete Kilman at Trade Navigator says, you can die of old age fiddling with programs to make them perfectly perfect. But at some stage we need to get this thing out and get you guys using it, which is what we're here for today. So they are the limitations on it. New members and guests, your contacts are Dan or Jerry at jerry@thedanielcode.com. I actually have a phone number for Jerry which hasn't appeared inside this version of this PowerPoint. Do excuse me, my computer crashed at about 1:30 this morning as I was finalizing this document, I'll just get it for you, then I had to redo it all on another computer, which took me till about 3:20 this morning. So that was a great fun exercise on the insanity of technology. But where are you? Okay, Jerry, can you, Jerry, if you're there, type in the number for me, will you? It's on a different version of this. Yes, it's not on there. Okay, very annoying. I'll get back to you with that number. We've posted on the website. Anyway, you've got his email address. That's for new members. Contact Jerry, and he'll talk to you. I'll get you the phone number. He'll be happy to talk to you about the GENIE, what it does, and anything that you want to do that you might be interested with in trading markets. He's a very nice bloke. Okay, here's the number coming up. Thanks, Jerry. This is the number for Jerry or Dan, folks. If you'd write it down, please. These numbers are in the US, of course. 312-588-0016. That's 312-588-0016. Or the 800 number is 800-669-8838. That's 800-669-8838. Okay, so the 800 number will take you to Strike, and make sure you ask for Jerry if you are using the 800 number. We have some compliance for you, which I do suggest you read. I think it's very important for people to understand that trading is risky, that there are now, with GENIE in particular, some technical issues. If you choose not to use the virtual personal servers, you will soon find out what they are. Even using the personal servers, I think Richard will know they're rated at 99.99% uptime, but there's always the risk of even that connection failing. The beauty is that there are people monitoring that virtual server all the time while you're not, and any problems are likely to be rectified in very quick time. They also have 2 or 3 alternate sites that they switch it over to if there is a problem. So I do urge you to read through that compliance. I repeat that the trial version of GENIE, for those of you who want to do trials who haven't done them already, you can only use a simulated or practice account, and Jerry and Dan will set you up with all of that. So folks, that's the end of the slideshow portion here. Let's move on to let's get rid of this thing, and you should now shortly be able to see the Trade Navigator, which is coming up now. You can't quite see it yet. Yeah, you should be able to see it now. This is the Trade Navigator program that we use. And this, of course, was our sell signal in the E-mini for today, or the S&P. So if you didn't know that that was going to go down and be a pretty decent trade, you could have found out at the Danielcode. And, of course, we also had sell signals today on the Dow. This is the mini contract, not quite as good, but I think the probabilities are that not a lot of people got these trades anyway, other than Danielcode members. So if we had the, if we revert to the E-mini here, which is, it lives in here, you can see that being elected means it traded below the low of the previous day. So you'd have been into that trade at about 13.13, less a couple of ticks. It was a 3-3 trade, so you didn't move your stop, and you exited at excuse me, 13.01 on the close, and that was a pretty nice way of making 12 points in the equities with no great effort or work involved. And there's a simple example of how it works. We take the signal, the Genie places the trade because it knows this is a 3-3 trade. It exited first profitable close. Is this going to go further? We don't know. That's why it's a 3-3 trade. If we had a view that it was going to go much further, we would have the continuation trade in there. Inside the Danielcode, I should point out to you, are some things called the long-term trend charts, LTTCs. They are free to you, and they're available at the Danielcode website under the recent trading tab. And you can see that they contain time cycles, Danielcode time cycles. If you're interested in this stuff, you can read the two masterclass articles under the articles tab. But you can see that every single turn at the S&P, this is just one example, since the March low, all the way back here, has come out a Danielcode time cycle, and they've been quite extraordinary. You can see that every turn down has come on a Danielcode 59 cycle. There's another one there that was an important turn down in April. All the support has come in at the Daniel 62 cycles. This 59 only gave us 2 weeks down, and then we had two support cycles side by side which pushed this thing up. And we're now running into a new 59 cycle, an important one, that ends in the 6 days ending March the 14th. So these things have a variance of plus or minus one period. So arguably we are in the position where an important top could now be made, but I hasten to assure you it's not there yet. Let me now take any questions, and we'll see if we can answer them for you as you go. All right, what do we got here? Let's see. If you had any questions, I'll find them now, and we can see if we can deal with them. Okay, there's quite a few here. Just bear with me for a moment while I try and organize these. All right. Okay, so this presentation's recorded. I did remember to press the button, and it says it's being recorded, so we'll have that up soon. Then we are, yes, Hala, yes, it'll be up in about 8 hours. Yeah, go to bed, it'll be there. That's my mate Ian over in Reading. Hello, mate, thanks for that. Frank, is it a must to use a VPS service when using the Genie? No, it's not. Genie will run quite happily inside your normal version of Trade Navigator. It will run on a normal internet connection. If you are confident that your machine is going to stay connected, that's fine. You don't need the virtual personal server. I ran it for about 3.5, 4 months non-stop. I have a pretty good internet connection. I was very happy with that. I was going to start saying, well, you know, who needs a virtual personal server? But then for some reason the phone company decided they were going to be doing some work at the exchange, and for a period of time it got turned off every night. And of course phone companies, being phone companies, don't have the courtesy to tell you what they're going to do. So, you know, you have to take the responsibility for that. If you think it's going to run all right on your machine, Frank, go for it. You'll find out soon enough. When there's an error with the DC daily trades, is the GENIE omniscient? Oh, omniscient. No, it's not, but we have quite a large number of people checking these trades, and the occasional error, and I will stress the word occasional, gets corrected very quickly. Once it's changed in the trade program, GENIE will pick it up inside the next 5 minutes. So that seems to be fairly self-correcting. Don't forget, we're doing these signals at 7 o'clock at night, New York time. Markets are closed. Some of the Forex signals can get elected quite soon after we post them, and some of the grains have dramatic moves around that time. But by and large, we're not putting out these signals, you know, 2 hours before the markets open or 20 minutes before the markets open. These signals come out 3 hours after the US markets close. That's because excuse me, that's because the Trade Navigator download doesn't come until 2 hours after the markets close. So we can't start to process the data on our mainframe, which lives in Melbourne, Australia, until we get that download from Trade Navigator. So once we get the end of day download, which typically comes at 6:30 New York time, it takes us less than 15 minutes to create all the signals through the mainframe. If the download's a bit later, then the signals can be posted a little bit later. And then they come back to me, and I view them and make sure that they're all sensible, and then they're posted. So that's how that works. There shouldn't be any errors within Trade Navigator's Trade Sense orders. That's purely mechanical. Timothy, that's purely mechanical. They don't have errors in that unless they've got a complete malfunction. The errors come from the posting of the signals from the Danielcode, and we're on top of that pretty well. Am I coming to the US to give any tutorials this year? Yes, I am, Spike. We were hoping to do them March, April, but time's just run away with me, so we'll go back to our normal schedule. I'll be in the US doing tutorials mid-July to mid-August. There is traditionally one in Los Angeles that starts off, then the second one is usually in Colorado Springs, the home of Trade Navigator. That's a very good one because the last day, the third day of the tutorial, we finish up sitting you down in Trade Navigator with their programmers and people who can give you, a really solid 4 or 5 hour coaching session on Trade Navigator and the tricks of the trade with that. And then the final one, last year we went to Chicago, where my friend John took me to see the Cubs playing baseball, which was quite an experience. We're not going to Chicago this year, but I think the probabilities are we're going to go to Puerto Rico. The boys seem to be very keen on that. It's not a great place for me to get to because I've got to travel right across the states after traveling 15 hours to Los Angeles. But we'll work around that. So those of you who are interested in tutorials, once you are a Danielcode member or even a guest, you have access to the members forum. And you can see there's quite a long thread there from Bernard, who lives down there. He's a big-time trader with the Danielcode. and he says that he's going to give us lots of fun down there. From my testing, which markets have resulted in the best results for Genie? The best markets to trade are gold and the US dollar index. The problem with that is the US dollar index is a pretty hefty contract. DAX is very good, the German DAX, all of the equities are good, and it's pretty well spread across. I like probably, gold and DX because I'm always looking at them because people ask me to write articles about those markets in particular. So I probably spend more time with them, but there is no actual bias. We did do a study looking at all of these markets, and because there are a lot more frequency of signals in Forex, they appear to be better, but they're not. It splits pretty much 50-50. And the sort of bias that comes into markets is basically range bias or volatility bias. So for February, the futures were very, very good. The Forex wasn't so good. It still had its 86% strike rate, but the ranges are small in Forex at the moment. So by diversifying across markets, the more you diversify, the more you're going to even out that equity curve. So the technical answer to that is that all markets are the same. What does it cost, William? If you would like to contact Jerry, we have a number of different packages available for you. So you'll start off with a free trial. Jerry will talk to you about the various packages available, and we have discounts for longer time periods. So you can subscribe just on a monthly basis, or you can buy a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month package. And Jerry or Dan will tell you all about that. Leslie, if you want to trade futures, the E-mini, which is a tiny little contract, the margins on that are up to over $4,000 now. It's quite ridiculous, but you've got to understand that the exchanges are owned and run by brokers for the benefit of brokers, so they're constantly trying to get the margins up. I would guess that you need 20,000, 30,000 as a minimum, and you'll find you won't be able to take all the signals with that because of the margin. Probably more than that. But I also urge you not to trade, if you have the choice, not to trade futures and Forex. So to make that choice, if you have a big enough account, trade everything, trade futures and Forex, because you get your diversification. For folks who have smaller accounts, you will enjoy trading Forex in the mini contracts. Rather fun. Oliver, are we able in the near future to select if we want to trade mini or standard lots in Forex with Genie? Well, you can now, because the minis are $1 a tick, and basically, and the standard lots are 10. So you just move the decimal point, Oliver. So if you want two standard lots, you take 20 minis. That's how it works at the moment. We are going to be bringing out different versions of Genie as we develop it, but I certainly wouldn't say it's in the near future. Getting anything done in programming seems to be terribly, terribly time-consuming and hard. And from my observation, as soon as our programmers fix one thing, they seem to manage to break something else. Those of you who did the Trade Navigator update to the new version just a few days ago, we have just had endless complaints from people that it's wiped out the DC button in the program. And Terry, our tech guy, and the staff at Genesis have just been overwhelmed trying to get that problem fixed. So, yeah, the answer is yes, but you can do it now. Just move the decimal point. I'll do more than that. Who's this? This is Nick. The ancient code of the Danielcode. If you look under articles at the Danielcode website, you will find, let me just direct you to it, you will find, well, this material has been up on the website for quite a while. I like that because, we get questions like this and we want to know where it is. Can we go back and find this stuff? Most people don't. They like to, keep it new and exciting, but this stuff is timeless. Let me see. Under articles, I think, or it may be under one of the others tabs, there is a 2-hour audio, might be 3 hours, called Live at the Springs. And that's a recording that was made when I was doing a tutorial in Colorado Springs. I think it was actually a free seminar. Might be under the videos tab, is it? Live at the Springs, it's called. Bear with me. I can't find it. It's there. Someone will tell me in a minute where it is. And it does more than provide generalities on it. It takes you right through the Danielcode, where it came from, what's the math. You can match what I talk about and prove it all to yourself. Can you explain how the correlations work in the trade program for the DX? What is it tied to? The DX is actually correlated with the US dollar side of Forex. So if you have a USD CAD buy and a DX buy, part of that is going to be correlated. I think we've got that working now. We didn't have that in earlier because we had this issue that one was a futures market and one was a Forex market. Yes, that should be in there. It's correlated to the US dollar. Done that. Okay, Richard says running Genie live without a 1-1 or a 1-3 connection is a bad idea. I agree with that. Actually, I'll come back to you. Jeff, I think if you want to trade futures, you probably need a minimum of 40,000-50,000. Look, you can do it on less and just pick out the E-minis, but you won't be able to take all of the trades that come. And once you start selecting which trades you want, then you get involved in selection bias. What's the best way to get a better understanding of the Danielcode, Michael? Read all my articles, look at all the videos. That'll take you about 5-6 weeks. When you've done that, come to a Danielcode tutorial where we go through those things and a lot more. Is the trade room included in the DC monthly membership? No, it's not. We've closed the trade room. I thought it was a fantastic thing. We had 400 or 500 members in there when it was free. And then when we asked them to pay a modest amount of $42 a month to reward the guy, Dave, who was running it for us, less than 40 people signed up. So we can get 500 when it's free and 40 when it's $42 a month. And obviously that's not sufficient remuneration for a guy who's putting in big hours during the day and being so helpful to so many people. So I liked it. I thought it was a great idea. I still do. I think it's a wonderful way to learn to trade, but it's obviously not a commercial proposition. And if people aren't prepared to pay for the service, then obviously the bloke running it won't feel inclined to keep going, and that's exactly what happened. What are the fees? I've done that. Talk to Jerry. He's got all those details and the different packages for you. Did Genie provide signals for currency futures? No, Cynthia, but they're the same. So all the USD crosses, so, if you're interested in trading CME futures, then, okay, is it back now, Jerry? Okay, I'm sorry. We've had a bit of a blackout with sound, Jerry's telling me, and I understand it's all right now. I was answering this question from Cynthia. Does it provide signals for currency futures? No, it doesn't. We used to do those. We found the vast majority of people prefer to trade Forex. and those CME futures markets in currency are very, very thin. They're not a great trading option, so you're better off trading Forex, and they're the same thing, very close. Directionally, they're the same thing. The signals, if they're elected in one market, will be elected in the others. If a signal is wrong or not, then what's the best way to report it? You just type it up in the forum, or let Terry know. But if you type it in the forum, this is Barnes. This is Bob Barnes. Bob, you've been doing this for us. Thank you, mate. Just do what you're doing. Whack it up in the forum. I'm always pretty aware of what's going on in the forum at that time of day. So that's the quickest way of doing that. Frank wants me to check on the 59 cycle on the long-term trend chart. You think it's incorrect. Could be wrong. There's actually a 59, Frank, as you will know, from a minor cycle that expired on February the 25th, which was the outside bar that gave us that little minor top. But it was a minor cycle. I don't put on all the cycles, as I've told you before, because it just becomes too cumbersome. I simply put the major cycles on there, and so far we've been pretty good with this stuff. Better than anyone else in the world, I suppose you can say that. Okay, these are all the same questions. Let's see, is it unwise to include a 2% risk gold trade with a 2% correlated Forex trade? Don't quite understand that, Richard. You might like to shoot me an email on that. Tom says that live at the Springs is under the articles tab. Thanks, Tom. Does the trade program use mini or full-size contracts for the metals? The signals are created from the full size, but yeah, it uses the full size. You can trade the minis, but boy, the minis in the metals are very, very illiquid, and you'll get some. Thanks, Dan. You'll get some very, very bad fills in the minis. You know, it's a problem. Live at the Springs is on the articles if you ever want to know about the Danielcode, where it came from, what it is. Listen to that. Then I've got a heap of people telling me they can't hear me. The audio is terrible, blah, blah. Okay, anyway, that's come back now. I'm sorry for that. We are always at the mercy of internet providers. So, folks, let's see what else we've got here. Would the GENIE still be in the 3-3 signals and ES and YM shorts today? No, it was a 3-3. If you have a look at the specs for the GENIE, I'll just show you that. That was something that was in the previous PowerPoint version that got mangled. This should now be able to see the Danielcode website coming up shortly, and when it does, I wanted to show you the page that's listed under the heading GENIE Auto Trade, second from the top. If you click on that, you'll see that there's an application to use the Danielcode, which if you want to use it for real money trading, you need to sign. Basically, it says that the responsibility is yours, and you know, you can do what you like as long as you observe the rules. There's also a auto trade GENIE commercial that's rather fun. You might like to look at that. We use that for the launch of GENIE in Vegas. There's a Trade Navigator video that's very, very good and tells you how it works and what it does, and that was done by Trade Navigator for us. And there are 2 PDF documents underneath that, the DC GENIE Trade Management and the DC GENIE FAQs. In there are all of the specifications of the signals, how they work and what they do. And for others of you, if you look at the trade program, just click on the link that says trade program, and if you look underneath where it says the green and the colored bars there, you can see it now. If you look underneath, it says notes for the DC trade program. And in there it tells you the protocols for each of these trades, and it also tells you what the GENIE runs on in here. So if you look at the number 3, this was a 3-3 trade. called 3 in the equities today. Enter the trade program number on stop. Place your initial stop loss at the trade program stop number. Exit first profitable close. So the genie is out of those trades. Let's see what else we've got here, guys. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying this, folks. I think we nearly got to the end of questions. Correlation question was likely on, yeah, gold and USD FX pair. Yeah, well, I hope I've answered that. The dollar is correlated if it's going the same way. So DX buy would be correlated with a USD CAD buy or a US Aussie dollar buy. Okay, well, I think that's probably about all. Could someone saying they couldn't locate the video, Nick? Live at the Springs. It's in there. The guys keep telling me it's under the articles tab. Can we speak to historic trade results? Absolutely. There's a mile of them. We posted the monthly live trade room results every month for 7 months. And I showed you earlier the summary of our trade results over the last 12 months. We think that they're the best in the world, but you can make up your own mind. Okay, in the articles, it's under articles, guys. Time frame on Project X. Look, if I had it now, I can tell you that all your problems would be over. Not quite. There will still be some normal trading problems even when Project X is up. Excuse me, and that's because Trade Navigator forces a stop at the end of the trading day. So these bars that Project X creates have elements of time in them and elements of price in them. At the moment, you can set alerts on time charts, but only on the set time charts, and you can set alerts on the price charts. These bars have elements of both in them. They're very much like the regression charts you can see. So the bars can end at any time, depending on volatility. I've written a special algorithm for volatility that instead of just going up for fear and down like the VIX does, it's actually bi-directional. So we get this thing turning up and down at both ends, and that's what Project X is reading. So as we get more volatility, we get more bars. So we can get anything from 6 or 8 bars a day to just 1 or 2 bars a day, depending on volatility. Once you start taking out that volatility and making that zero or neutral, it's pretty amazing what the charts do. So that's what we're waiting on Trade Navigator giving us the alert for that. The next thing we are doing is calculating the null bars. There are some bars on these charts that are invalid for technical reasons, and I don't expect you guys to figure that out. We want to be able to show you those as null bars, and if they are null, then we want to absorb them in the previous bar. Ask Trade Navigator, Bob. It's in their hands. I've done my bit. I know how it works, and I've told them what they need to do. Does the Genie use the first target to exit half of the positions for all threes? No, it doesn't use them at all on the threes. It only uses the first target to exit half the position on the reversals. It doesn't use them for continuations either. So, Chuck, it uses them only on the reversal signals. You can see that from the page you're looking at here. If you look at R for reversal, this is tells you what it does. It's all there, and it's also under the Genie Auto Trade FAQs. Types of signals. Tom says 12th down from the top. I guess that's under articles. Okay, Nick's found it. That's good. Did I hear that your system has only been traded with a history for a year of market conditions? No, everything in the Danielcode, I've been using it for about 12 years, and everything is back tested for 17 years. I've had this in various forms for quite a long time. It's only been available to the public for the past 3 years. Until then, I just was using it for myself and private clients. Staying on TN for the X charts. Okay. All right, Tom. Oh, good, Tom. Thank you. Yes, keep whacking at them. There's Gabriel. I have to run. Great presentation. Brian, thanks very much, mate. I have to run too, or we won't have any trade signals for today. So folks, I thank you for your attendance. I'm sorry about the audio. I'll have to have a look at some way of recording audio separately so that if it does drop out with the internet, we can dub it into the recorded version, but we do not have that now. So thank you for your attendance, and I do hope that you get stuck into the Genie. It really is a marvelous solution. It's been years and years in the making, and you know, if you've lost money trading, I assure you you'll lose it again unless you change your habits. So do make that commitment, and talk to Jerry or Dan at 312-588-0016 or 800-669-8838. So I bid you good evening, and thanks, Oliver. I hope things are good. You're having a nice day over there. Okay. Have a nice evening, folks, and I look forward to talking to you all at the next webinar. So on that note, I bid you good night.